My name is Rachel Dworkin. I'm the archivist at the Chemung County Historical Society. Welcome to our panel discussion. Tonight we will be discussing the Chemung County's Black Oral History Project. From 1989 to 1991, we conducted a series of interviews with 22 members of the African American community in Elmira, discussing a range of issues. Tonight we'll be listening to some clips from those interviews and then discussing them. With me on the panel are
Michele Johnson. I am the CEO of YWCA Elmira and the Twin Tiers.
Georgia Verdier, and I'm president of the Elmira-Corning branch of the NAACP.
Dr. Jimmie Williams, retired from Corning Incorporated. I am also vice president of the NAACP. And my son had an Eagle project where he looked up the history of the NAACP. You have that on display.
Yes, and we have that in our collection, and it's a wonderful collection. Thank you. All right, I'm going to share the clip that we have of Bessie Berry talking about her time working at the Chemung County Probation Department in the 1970s.
Well, as a probation officer, I worked primarily out of Recorder's Court and Chemung County Family Court and Chemung County Court. I worked on support cases, conducted investigations, criminal investigations for both Recorder's Court and County Court. As a result of those persons placed on probation, I supervised them.
Okay, when you say you supervised them, did you have to go into their homes? What did you do when you were supervising them?
Yes, I supervised them in the office as well as made home visits, which actually included the whole family. And for the last 3 years, I worked as an intensive supervision probation officer, which was a state mandated position. And this program was primarily for those persons who had been convicted of crimes, and if it were not for the intensive supervision program, they would have been sent to state prisons.
What was the ratio of white families to black families that you worked with?
Well, needless to say, most of the individuals that I supervised were white. Most of the convicted who were black usually received a jail or prison sentence.
So you're saying that
the percentage, I don't know the exact percentage,
okay,
but the percentage of those whites who were supervised on probation was very much larger than those blacks.
so it appears that a lot of the blacks who came through the system may have been put or incarcerated as to having some kind of rehabilitation before they were.
That's a fact.
So that is the quote talking about her experience working at the probation office and how the criminal justice system worked back in the 1970s, or was working in the area in the 1970s. What kind of thoughts do you folks have on that, if you have any?
Well, for me, Rachel, probably none of us knew that were even around here maybe at that time. I met Bessie much later. I knew she had worked for the probation department and had encountered some difficulty, racially speaking, but she was a first in many of in the arenas that she was in. And I heard a lot of conversation around her involvement with the probation department and moving. I don't want to go ahead of you, but I remember, I think she went to the prison. She was a first and encountered difficulties there, but Bessie Berry was a warrior. She didn't let anything put stop signs on her mind. She was determined to make it wherever she would go. And she continued to do that. And I don't want to keep talking, but I could bring her closer to the future because she was president of the NAACP before me. And she was my mentor. She shared her knowledge with me and walked me through processes and how-tos because she had been at the probation department and learned how to navigate, or as you might say, navigate through minefields and not get blown up. So she shared that kind of thing with me, and at the prison system, how she had to go through some of the same types of things. But the one thing that she impressed me with, that she would never give up. She was determined to be a role model and a leader, which enhanced our chances for making it, because she shared much of that with me to let me know that leadership is not easy. And being the first one, you are like a guinea pig, so to speak. You're going to encounter some things that others might not because you were first. And she played that role, served in those roles very well, effectively.
All right, thank you. Tanya, I'd like to welcome you. And I'd also like to ask you to give like a quick 1 second or one sentence introduction so that we have that for the introduction for the video. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya McGee, and I am currently a member of the executive board of the NAACP.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure. So I'll share my thoughts, just bouncing off of what Georgia was saying in terms of criminal justice. So being that this interview, you said the 1980s, I just imagined what it must have been like to realize that, you know, those who are on probation were white, right? So thinking back to the Rockefeller drug laws of the early 1970s that really started, you know, mass incarceration, right? So you go to jail for a minimum of 15 years for, you know, usually a nonviolent low-level drug offense. And reform didn't occur until 2004. So I think just bringing it back to contemporary times, it's disheartening to know that, you know, those statistics are really sustained under our criminal justice system.
Yeah.
To bring it even closer to home, to then piggyback off Tanya, with the killings last year of African Americans for very small offenses, I think shocked the nation. But all of those things we saw on camera were for very small offenses too, things that Blacks were automatically deemed guilty of. One of them was possibly passing a fake $20 bill. So I think that even in 2020, the notion that Blacks are automatically guilty and that whites may not be, or may have just, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt and soften the situation for them. I think that's still very true in 2020.
And I'll speak. I met Bessie Berry in the 1980s when I became active with the NAACP. And Bessie, soon after that, became president. But she talked about some of her days on the Hill where it was very stressful, trying to gain the respect of white officers and also give them the same respect as being a supervisor. You know, it was very difficult. And she fought also for inmates, particularly Black inmates, for getting longer sentences and not getting parole, like a lot of the whites that were incarcerated at that time. So, so she fought the battle. She continued, even though it caused her health problems because it was so stressful, but she didn't give up. She was a real fighter, like Georgia said. She wanted to see justice, in the criminal justice system. So, but Bessie also was the first in a lot of different things in Elmira. You know, she came in and became very involved in the community. The prison system was only one of the things that she became involved. She was very involved in education. First school, Black female school board member, and a few other firsts. But I had a lot of respect for Bessie for the things that she stood for, integrity, and never give up on your fellow man.